All right, I hope that everyone has had a chance to get some cake. Of course, the cake will be available at any time. We're going to go ahead and get started with some intentional thoughts about LuLa May's life. We're going to start with an opening from Phyllis Strather, her Sunday school teacher and good friend. So we've got LuLa May up here at the front so everyone can see her and she can see you as well. And if you haven't let me know that you want to say something or share a story, go ahead and let me know that. I'm going to be standing right over here.
Well, LuLa May. Well, we'll see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, maybe I'll just do this. Does this work? Okay, this works better. I went searching for a birthday card for you. And I looked and nothing was right. I couldn't find anything that looked just right. There were so many, 100-year-old birthday cards, of course. I've never known anybody to be 100 years old before. You're the first. Now I do. But I did find a card that said, let's celebrate the gift you are to the world and celebrate you as our gift too. So today, we're going to celebrate you as the gift that you are to us. I had to think about this for a while because, after all, I was only given a few minutes to talk. So, okay. But you are a gift of energy. I have asked you for years to bottle your energy and share it with me. And so far that hadn't happened because I can't keep up with you. Could it possibly be those juniper rum raisins that she eats every day? Yes. You have shared with us your gift of wisdom, gained through life's experiences, roll up your sleeves hard work, and most importantly, God's Word. You showered all of us with the gift of hospitality. Your home has always been one of welcome, no matter where that home is. One of welcome and warmth and comfort. You walk in the door, and she says, make yourself at home. The bathroom's that way. You demonstrate the gift of generosity in money, in food, clothes for children when needed, a month's rent for a needy family, a donation to help granddaughter Katie build a school in South Sudan, and prayer for whomever and whenever. Much, much prayer. You live the gift of encouragement with smiles and hugs, with words, but more importantly, with those confident nods that only you had. You have a way of helping us sort through the good and the not so good before we make a decision. You exude the gift of gentility in dress and manners, whether it be a costume party or at the playground or at church. And you taught us about the gift of volunteerism. You have spent countless hours serving freely at hospitals, at the library, here at the church, at Compassion Ministry. Wherever you were needed, you were there. LuLa May, you are dear. The hats you have worn are really too numerous to mention, but the ones for me, personally. Cheerleader, teacher, encourager, comforter, counselor, friend, record keeper. Oh my goodness, did I ever learn how to be a record keeper with her? And prayer warrior. LuLa Mae was one of the original grandmothers who got started with me when we started our grandmother's prayer group, beginning now 14 years ago. So, you are all of that and more. Will you pray? Most gracious Heavenly Father, how magnificent is your name in all the earth. And it is with gratitude that we come before you today to thank you for the privilege of honoring LuLa Mae on this truly historic occasion of her 100th birthday. The words spoken here today are not just flowery ones, or perfunctory ones, or trite ones, but they are truthful ones, heartfelt ones, and Father, we thank you. She has been and is a blessing, not only to all of us here today, but also to so many before us. Some she knows, and many whom she will never, ever know. And we thank you. And we thank you. And now, LuLa Mae, I want to speak a blessing over you. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and make his face to shine upon you, and give you his peace. And may Father God continue to use you as the gift that keeps on giving. It is my honor to know you, dear friend, as the gift that you are. Amen. I don't know how to work this silly thing. Maybe it's okay, as long as it doesn't fall.
Yeah. Thank you, Phyllis. LuLa Mae has certainly been productive in her 100 years, as many of us know. And now we want to just talk a little bit about how she's produced other humans in the world and introduce her family. So I want to go back to 1919, though, which is when LuLa Mae was born, over on Spate Street, which is now a flower shop. It used to be a tiny house, and next to the house, her father ran a grocery store. She graduated high school, Waco High School, that's correct, in 1937, and business college in 1938. And then again, as we know, put all of those business skills straight to work. She worked for 20 years in the government and the Department of Agriculture. So during that time when she was working at the government, in 1947, her first son was born, Roger Mosley. Can you come up, and we'll just have you stand up here next to her. I want to introduce everybody. Roger's going to share a little later about some of the things he put his mother through, so we can look forward to that. And then in 1949, her daughter was born, Judy Mosley at that time, currently Judy Smith, and she's coming up. Near the end of her tenure at the government in the Department of Agriculture, her first grandson was born on her birthday, October 9th, 1980. Jason Mosley emerged into the world, followed in 1982 by John Mosley. John, he'll be up shortly. I came along in 1984, and then Scott Smith came along in 1985. While LuLa Mae has been exceptionally productive in her work, as you can see, we're a little bit small up here, and it's taken almost 100 years of her life to get a great-grandchild. So we have one great-grandchild, Finnegan, who was born in 2016. So he's our star child. So this is our Family, yes. All of the Facebook photos on anybody's profile are Finn, so it gets a little confusing in the family chats about who's speaking. But, okay, thank you so much for coming up, and you may be seated. Actually, except Roger. Roger's going to start us off with stories, as I promised he would share some of his childhood with his mother, LuLa May.
First of all, ditto on everything that's been said about my mom, an amazing person. I'm Roger, my mother's nemesis. I would like to zero in on Mom's sense of humor at this time. I grew up in Fairfax, Virginia, and on the street where we lived, there were three of us boys that were pretty close. There was myself, Sperry Pittner, and Stan Walmsley. Now, Stan Walmsley liked to raise pigeons. Bear with me. This is going to work out, I think. Anyways, and he had a little shed in his backyard where that was his pigeon coop. And after school, the three of us would go back there and smoke because we thought nobody would know that we were doing that. So unless you happen to drive by and you look over there and your first notion is going to be call the fire department. But anyways, so Stan noticed one time that his pigeons were starting to miss. He was missing them. They were just disappearing. So trying to figure out, several months there, we were trying to figure out what was going on. Well, one afternoon after school when we all met back there, here's a 6-foot-long black snake in the floor of the pigeon coop, and it had swallowed 2 whole pigeons. I mean, its midsection was expanded to, something like that. And so that snake was so full, it did not want to open its mouth for anything or any reason. So we were playing around with it, hanging around our neck and playing with it and everything. And I just got to thinking, Stan, I got this idea. And he says, "What, Roger?" And I said, "My mom's having a women's prayer meeting tonight in our house." And his eyes just went like that. It's pretty amazing. And I said, "Why don't we take the snake into their prayer meeting and scare all those old ladies?" And Stan said, "Sounds like a good idea, but you're going to do it." And I said, "I'll do it." So anyway, a little later, after all the women were at the house and everything, and right in the middle of the prayer meeting, I walked in the back door of the house, through the kitchen, and walked right in the middle of the living room in front of all those old ladies, and they just looked at me. They didn't say anything. They didn't scream or nothing, but it was just like a orchestra conductor. On cue, all the women screamed their guts out. It was amazing. And they all jumped up and tried to run for the front door at the same time, but they couldn't get through the front door because they were all trying to do it at the same time. Anyways, so after a while, things settled down. And the really funny part of the story is that a little later in the evening, Mom confronted me. And she says, "Roger, if you ever do that, if you ever." And she said, "Roger?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She says, "That was so funny, watching those old ladies scream, jump up, and head for the front door." That's my mom.
I'd like to call up Joyce Brammer, and then after Joyce, Jason, you're on deck.
Good afternoon. I'm Joyce Brammer. I worked at Hillcrest back in the good old days. I tell people I grew up there because I was surrounded by the likes of the LuLa May. In fact, when LuLa May was still, in Virginia, and her sister Eula was volunteering at Hillcrest, this was back in the 80s, and Eula came to me one day and just said, "Hey, my sister's moving back to Waco, and I want her to volunteer. In fact, I've already got her signed up." So what was really entertaining about that, we had a ready-made LuLa and Roy Dennison volunteering with us before they even knew it. And when she got to Hillcrest, when they both came to Hillcrest, LuLa May immediately stepped in line with the gift shop and immediately started the record keeping of the gift shop and immediately took no took her courage by leading it, by manning it, by staffing it along with the other volunteers. And I think she still holds the reputation of the only volunteer who had the guts to go to the CEO of the hospital and tell them how the shop should be run. And we all listened. And even after I left the hospital, LuLa May still remained there as a very dedicated gift shop manager. She turned that store around, and I think that today that there will still be the reputation of what LuLa May has done for that hospital. Personally, LuLa May has always been a very dear friend to me, an encourager to me. She was always there when I was on my downside, and she was always there when I was on my upside. So I feel very blessed to know you, LuLa May, to know your family and your extended family, and it's just awesome to be here and share that little bit with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Actually, can we get a show of hands of how many people worked in a volunteer setting with LuLa May who are in the room today? Okay, quite a few. Yeah, that's great. I know that I was tagging along in the gift shop at Hillcrest Hospital. She let me tag along in the public library, in the church library, anywhere I could. And when I was about ages 8 to 10, I was right there. Jason is going to come up and share a story, and followed by Lori.
Hello, it's Jason Mosley. I'm Dee Dee's grandson. One of the things I'd say is growing up as a kid is being up in Washington State, you don't get to see the family down here a lot. So it was always fun to have her come up every year. She used to come up for about 2 weeks or more. In the summertime, it was always a big highlight, and especially, too, because she would make sure that she brought Scott and Katie up to hang out with us in the summer, too. It was a lot of fun. She's always been good at keeping our family together and checking on us. And growing up as kids, she was always a big part of our lives, even though you're a couple states away across the country. It was cool to see that she always would spend a lot of time making sure to keep intact of us in our lives growing up as kids. It's been a big pleasure to have her as a grandmother. She cares for us a lot, and it shows a lot in the way she's looked out for us. And I just thank you for that a lot.
Thank you, Jason. The grandkids call her Dee Dee, and we call her Dee Dee because those are the sounds that came out of Jason's mouth as the firstborn grandchild. So that's how she got to be Grandma Dee Dee, for anyone who's heard that phrase. Lori is going to come on up and tell us a story, followed by Millie Reed.
Hello, I'm Lori Latimer, and I worked at Compassion late 90s through the 2000 until 2012. So you're Aunt LuLa May, that's what we always called you. And if y'all been to Compassion, you know it's 4 stories. So in the basement, the dungeon, is where we used to collect things and have a garage sale. So if she wasn't down in the dungeon, she was up on the 3rd story where we had a clothes closet. And of course, neither of those places were heated or air conditioning. And, you know, she would just go up and down, up and down. And then one day she sat down, was eating her lunch. She goes, oh, I don't feel very good today. Well, she went and had a pacemaker put in the next day, didn't miss a beat, and then she's back the next week volunteering. And so, pardon? Still got it, and it's still beating. Yeah. So, yeah, I learned a lot from Aunt LuLa May, and you were in your young 80s at the time, I think, you know, and just such a faithful servant to help. And then she also helped with the co-partners, which is a budgeting class for them. So the joke was Aunt LuLa May knows where every penny she's ever spent in her whole life, because she keeps such good track of finances. So she was the best partner working with the folks that were homeless and trying to get back on their feet.
Sometimes we call her the Energizer Bunny, occasionally. Okay, great.
I have to stand here because I don't want to be up in front of everybody. So, I've known LuLa May through Jill and Dick McCall forever, because that's her niece, and I guess you'd call him nephew. Anyway, I've known you for a long, long time. And I was thrown with her, literally, playing bridge probably 15 to 20 years ago. Now, I never really played with her as a partner in duplicate bridge until she turned 96. And she calls me on the phone and said, well, can you play with me on Thursday? And I said, sure. I thought, well, maybe some of her memory will rub off on me. It didn't work. But anyway, we played bridge, and I took a picture of us and posted it on Facebook saying, here's my 96-year-old duplicate partner, and I'm hoping that some of her bridge expertise is going to land on me, but I don't think it did. But you've just always been such an inspiration to me and everybody else, and we love and appreciate you so much, LuLa May. And I don't think I'll ever live to be 100, but if I do, I hope I'm as spry as you.
Thank you, Millie. Jill?
I think I'll choose to stand down here as well. Hello. What can I say? I think Energizer Bunny is a good thing, and here's a story that really says it all. Probably 15 years or so ago, Aunt LuLa May went in for a checkup with Dr. Shipp. And he goes, you know, LuLa May, you're kind of, it's 80-something now, and I feel like it's time that you probably got on some vitamins. She said, Dr. Shipp, if I had any more energy, I would never go to sleep at night. I do not need any vitamins. And that's exactly, I don't think people know really the depth of how much she volunteered here in Waco. When 10 years ago, I put her up for an award, and at that time, it was over 41,000 hours of volunteer service that she had performed. Yes. And that was 10 years ago, and she even continued on at Compassion until the year 2016. So I think really her hours, and she still went on at the central, at the library, the McLennan County Library. So well over 45,000 hours of volunteer work. It's 2,080 hours for a person that works full time. So you do the math, Aunt LuLa May. How many years is that? 45,000 divided by 2,080. I mean, unbelievable. One of my favorite sayings at Compassion is, we're planting trees knowing full well we may never see the shade. Well, Aunt LuLa May has planted a forest. Literally. But she has helped so many people, many places, but I know for a fact at Compassion, she has helped so many people.
Thank you to those of you who shared about her humor and her work and her volunteering, her bridge playing, and we haven't even gotten to bingo or the other games that also require record keeping. And also, thank you to all of you for coming. It's very delightful to see this whole room of people here to celebrate 100 years. I said earlier, very at the beginning, but I'll say it again. I asked her to live to 100, and she kept her promise, and I could not be happier about that. One last story from me. When she was 93, she came to visit me in San Francisco. And sometimes things work a little different in San Francisco than in Texas. And so some friends of mine and I knew about this bakery, a Boudin sourdough bakery down on Fisherman's Wharf, that would throw out all of their bread at the end of the day. It was perfectly fine bread. They would just throw it out. So the summer that Dee Dee came, we happened to be going on a what we called a dumpster dive. And we got into a purple minivan, put Dee Dee in the front. We had people all the way in the back, probably 12 people or so in that minivan. And she looks at me with a lot of energy for 93 and says, "Are people going to read about this in the paper?" And I said, "Nope, think you're going to be fine." So we drive on through the city, And we get to Fisherman's Wharf, and we have to kind of park in a little bit of a stealthy location away from the bakery. And it's a bit of a hike, but she's the first one out of the van, and she's got to climb over a rope, and she's charging straight there. And I just let everyone know that the rules were don't drop the dumpster lid on my grandmother. And that's one of my favorite memories of Dee Dee, and illustrates her adventure. We just have one more person who's going to come up to the stage right now. Judy, do you want to come up? And then we can continue mingling, and people who have come in can continue talking and sharing stories and greeting LuLa May. Also, you may get summoned into a group picture. Just fair warning.
Before I do anything else, my sharing is many wonderful qualities have been shared about Mom. I think the thing that has been the most powerful to me in my life is the lessons she has taught me about forgiveness. We all have different situations in our lives, and we all have people we need to forgive. And Mom has been so gracious in passing that down to me and hopefully to my children and grandchildren in the future. It's not forgiving can be like a cancer. It can destroy you. And so forgiveness is just so powerful, and I'm so grateful for her quality of forgiveness that she has passed on to me. It makes a huge difference. I want to say thank you to some people. Jill was my first contact to kind of hash through what we should do. I had ideas in my head, but I was scared to death about this party and how I was going to do it. And she was there for me, and she kind of handled all the food. So that was a huge relief to me. Thank you so much that I didn't have to do that. My dear, sweet, kindred spirit friends, Linnell, Judy, and Jerry back there, they had volunteered to come help set up and keep things flowing as far as the food and the beverages and the greetings, so I really appreciate them. Thank you so much. And Lewis, is Lewis still here? Okay. He's going to be leaving in a short while to prepare for another event to top this off. So he brought me up here. He carted everything in here, and I appreciate that. Jason, he got here, and I said, I've got a job for you. I want you to go to Mom's. I want you to find pictures, and I want you to make a picture board. He didn't have a whole lot of warning. He did it, so I appreciate that very much. Jean Penner, who's been playing the piano. You might not have noticed because it's just been so subtle in the background. She plays without any music. She just has a list of the names of songs to play, and I appreciate you doing that, Jean. Thank you so much. What a gift you have. The gentleman who's doing the photography is my cousin, Raul, up here. And he is on my dad's side of the family. So we have family here from Mom's side, which is the Harvey side, and we have a lot of family here from the Mosley side. And that's really fun. Some people who are not here, I don't know, some of you probably know Paula Marshall. She was really helpful to me in figuring out room arrangement and how to do all that. Her mother had surgery this week, so she wasn't able to be here. There were some other people at the church who helped me. Jason Phillips and Rebecca Bing, who runs our kitchen. And I think she did a little extra for me because she's in my Sunday school class. But don't tell Jason. And then the flowers that we have are from Baylor Florist. And Mom worked with them at the hospital, right? They were originally at the hospital. And they've stayed in touch and she takes, when she collects empty vases, she takes them back, and it's a donation to Stillwell, so she's still volunteering in that sense. But they did a lovely job of the flowers. And Mom, they donated this for you, which was really, really special. So I hope I haven't left anybody out. I know, is Suzanne Kelly still here? Okay, she left. She came and helped Jill with hey, for a lot of you who are older, you might not even be aware of this. How many of you know what a charcuterie board is? Okay, that board back there that is really an old bread board is a charcuterie board. And this day, this newer generation, they might have salami, ham, fruits, vegetables, cheese on it, and it's called a charcuterie board. You know, who knows? A new word for a new generation. I don't know. Did I leave anybody else out? I'm just so thankful that you all came. What a blessing. Oh, Phyllis, yes, and obviously Phyllis for saying the kind words for Mom and the prayer. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. There are a number of people who would like to have been here but had conflicts and couldn't. So, anyway, I think that's it.
And then obviously Judy. Special thank you to Judy, my mom, for putting this all together and for devoting so much time and energy into both her parents and LuLa May.
One more thing. What you all don't see behind the scenes is my house with all the people who are in it and all the meals that are being prepared. So thank you to all of the grandkids and my brother who are doing the cooking, and so I can just do other stuff. It's been amazing.
We're just going to return to a time of visiting and desserts if you haven't had a chance to do desserts yet. If you haven't had a chance to sign the guest book, I think maybe Linnell has the guest book. Go ahead and sign the guest book. If you didn't get a photo taken by Raul, go ahead and get your photo taken. We're going to put together a book of the photos of everybody who are here for LuLa May, and I think that's...
I do have one other thing. Okay, if you are able to, if you are my first cousin, if you are one of Mom's brothers or sisters' children, stand up. See how many first cousins we have here. Some of you might not be able to stand really well. Okay, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, you all are first cousins once removed. You can. So we have first cousins. Now, everybody who is a child of one of those people standing, stand up. Now, those standing up now for Jason and Jonathan, Scott and Katie, those are your second cousins that just stood up. And we actually have third cousins here. Okay. Two gals back at that table, 3 kids here, and this little one running around. They're all third cousins. So our family is, we've got those tiers there. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you. Hello. Okay. Katie came from San Francisco, so she's the West Coast. But we have 2 gals here with their husbands from the East Coast who are Mom's nieces from Roy Dennison. So we have Theo and her husband Chip and Gail and her husband Jim here from New Hampshire and Virginia. Yeah. So what an amazing thing to have people come so far for such a special lady. Thank you.
Hello? Whatever you want to say.
Thank you all for coming. This has been truly a pleasure. I remember you, and I love every one of you. And again, thank you for coming and sharing this big occasion with me.
Hello. I have a treat for everyone. I think they've already put the cookies out. I had some special cookies made, and they're out on the table, so feel free to grab one. There are some special Spider-Man cookies for the kids. So thanks to Finnegan, who loves Spider-Man. And then there's some really neat cookies out there that look like books of life. So thank you.